I own drones that cost 4, 5, 6 times more than the Neo 2, and I am not flying them as much. That is not something I expected to say 3 months ago. That is not something I planned. It just happened, and once I noticed it, I could not ignore it. Because here is the thing nobody warned me about before I bought this drone. The Neo 2 does not compete with your other drones. It replaces your habit. And that is a completely different problem. Today, 3 months in, I want to tell you what that actually means. Not the specs, not the comparison charts, the real shift that happens when you live with this drone long enough for the honeymoon phase to end. Stay with me because this video is going to change how you think about which drone you actually need. When I bought the Neo 2, I thought of it as a secondary drone. My Mini 5 Pro was the main camera, the Air Series for serious work. The Neo 2 was going to be the fun little drone I pull out occasionally. That was the plan. 3 months later, the Neo 2 has more flight time than any other drone I own. And the reason is embarrassingly simple. It is always ready, not just ready in the technical sense, ready in the way an action camera is ready. You pick it up, press a button, and you are filming. No controller to charge, no arms to unfold, no app connection dance, no waiting for GPS while your moment disappears. I started thinking of it differently somewhere around week 5 or 6. I stopped thinking of it as a drone. I started thinking of it as an action camera that flies, and that single shift in mindset changed everything about how I used it. A GoPro does not sit in your bag waiting for a perfect moment. You just film. You mount it, throw it, stick it somewhere, and capture. The Neo 2 works the same way. And because it works that way, I use it in moments I would never have pulled out a bigger drone for. A quick sunset on the way home, a ride through the city, a friend doing something cool, a moment that lasts 30 seconds. Those moments never made it onto my more expensive drones. They are all over my Neo 2 footage now. Now, I want to address something I did not fully appreciate until I went back and flew the original Neo again recently. The gap between the original Neo and Neo 2 is massive, and I mean that in the best way. When I flew the original after 3 months with Neo 2, it felt like going back to an old phone. Still works. But you feel every limitation immediately. The original Neo wobbles in wind in a way that Neo 2 just does not. That extra 16 grams and those redesigned propellers give Neo 2 an authority in the air that the original simply does not have. When a gust hits the original Neo, you see it in the footage. The drone fights back, and you watch it happen frame by frame. When a gust hits Neo 2, it just holds. The correction happens before your eyes even register the problem. That is not a small difference. That is the difference between footage you keep and footage you delete. Tracking on the original Neo is decent. On Neo 2, it is confident. There is a real difference between a drone that tracks and a drone that locks and follows without drama. Now, I tested this properly, like same subject, same path, same conditions. The original Neo loses lock on a cyclist going through a busy background and takes several seconds to reacquire. Neo 2 stays on, not perfect every single time, but the recovery is so fast you often cannot even tell it struggled. The gimbal is another thing entirely. Original Neo has single axis stabilization. It is fine for calm conditions. Neo 2 has dual axis, and when you put the two side by side on an aggressive orbit or a fast push-in over water, the difference is not subtle. Neo 2 footage looks like it came from a more expensive drone. The original Neo footage looks like it came from a capable small drone. Those are different things. And the front screen, I know it sounds like a gimmick. I thought it was a gimmick, but after 3 months, I genuinely cannot imagine going back to no screen. Battery percentage, flight status, tracking mode, all visible in 2 seconds without touching my phone. When you are shooting fast and light and you just want to know if you have enough battery for one more pass, the screen gives you that answer instantly. It sounds small. Over a full shooting day, it saves you more time than you realize. If you are sitting on the fence between original Neo and Neo 2, and budget allows, Neo 2 is the right answer. It is not a small upgrade, it is a generation jump. All right, let me be completely straight with you about battery life, because this is where DJI and reality do not agree. DJI says 19 minutes. In real flying, real movement, some wind, some aggressive inputs, you are looking at 11 to 12 minutes before you should be thinking about landing. Not 19, 11 to 12. Now, I know some people get upset about this, and honestly, Amar, if you went in expecting 19, that disappointment is valid. But here is what I want you to understand after 3 months of flying it. 11 to 12 minutes is almost never the limiting factor for me, because the Neo 2 is not a drone you fly for 19 minutes in a straight line. It is a drone you launch, grab 3 or 4 shots, land, check your footage, and launch again. The usage pattern is different, it is short and intentional, and I have found a workaround that genuinely works. There is an aftermarket battery on AliExpress, double the capacity. That gets me around 18 minutes of real flight time. I did a full video on that already. Link is in the description if you want the details. But the point is, if battery life is your main concern, there is a real solution that does not cost much. The official batteries are not bad. They are just honest about what this category of drone asks for. Buy extra. That is the move. 3 months in, here are the things I genuinely wish someone had told me before I bought this. First, update every battery before your first flight. Every single one. Not just the drone firmware. Every battery has its own firmware and needs an individual update when you first use it. I learned this the inconvenient way. Do not skip this step. Buy a new battery, plug it in, update before you fly. Otherwise, the drone may not recognize it properly and your flight experience will be inconsistent. Second, the front screen saves you more time than you expect. It sounds small. It is not small. When you are in the field and you just want to check battery and go, the screen means you never have to open your phone. Over a full day of shooting, this adds up in a way that genuinely changes your workflow. Third, the digital link module is worth it if you want range. Without it, you are flying on Wi-Fi with your phone. Fine for most use cases, but if you want to go further, fly with RC2 or use goggles, you need the module. Factor that into your budget before you buy. A lot of people buy the base drone and then feel frustrated when they realize the full experience costs extra. Go in knowing that it's fourth. Prop guards are not just for beginners. I fly without them outdoors, but for tight indoor spaces for flying near people, for situations where a small bump could end a session, prop guards matter. They also slightly reduce prop noise, which is a bonus nobody talks about enough. If you are flying in confined spaces, just put them on. You will not regret it. Fifth. Okay, the gesture controls are better than you think, but they need practice. The first time you try gesture control, it feels awkward and unreliable. That is normal. Give it 5 or 6 sessions and it clicks. Once it clicks, launching and stopping a recording hands-free becomes genuinely fast. For solo content creators especially, this feature is one of the most underrated things about this drone. There is something else that took me a few months to fully appreciate, and reviewers almost never mention it because it is hard to show in a clip. The Neo 2 gets better the more you fly it. Not because the hardware changes, because the smart flight system learns patterns. DJI calls it smart flight intelligence, which sounds like marketing, but after 3 months, I believe it. Like if you fly the same coastal path or the same urban line a few times in a row, the drone starts anticipating the wind at the same points. Yeah, it corrects earlier. The gimbal smooths transitions before you even feel the gust. When you dive down fast and pull up, it knows you are about to level out. The motion is already being smoothed before you finish the input. It learns how aggressively you like to accelerate out of corners. It adjusts for your style. Now, it is not magic. It still gets confused by harsh shadows or glass reflections. You still need to fly responsibly. The obstacle sensing is good, but it is not full surround. Like forward sensing is strong, but you still need awareness everywhere else. But there is a genuine feeling after flying it long enough that the drone is working with you rather than just responding to you. That is hard to explain in a 1-week review. You have to live with it. And it is one of the main reasons I keep reaching for this drone over more expensive options. It does not just perform well, it performs well for me specifically, and that is something different. So 3 months later, is the Neo 2 worth it? Here is my honest answer. It is not just worth it, it is the drone I would recommend to almost anyone, regardless of what you already own. And I want to explain that last part carefully. If you already own a Mini 5 Pro, an Air series, a Mavic, you do not need to replace any of those. Neo 2 does not replace them. It fills a gap they cannot fill, because here is what those bigger drones cannot do. They cannot disappear into your bag the way an action camera can. They cannot launch in 10 seconds with no controller. They cannot make you feel like there is zero cost to filming a casual moment. Neo 2 can do all of that, and that is why pro users with expensive drones are quietly flying Neo 2 more than their other gear. Not because Neo 2 is better than a Mavic, because Neo 2 is there when the Mavic is not. The best drone is not the one with the best specs. The best drone is the one you actually fly. And 3 months in, I fly Neo 2 more than anything else I own. That is the real story nobody warned me about. If you are thinking about buying Neo 2 as your first drone, do it. It is the most forgiving, most usable, most capable entry point DJI has ever made at this price. If you already own other drones, do it anyway. It will not replace them. It will make sure you are filming the moments they miss. If you want to see the aftermarket battery video I mentioned, that is in the description. And if you want more honest long-term testing from someone actually flying this stuff in the real world, not just reading spec sheets, subscribe, because I have more coming. Drop in the comments, how long have you been flying Neo 2, and has it changed how often you actually go out to shoot? I genuinely want to know.